everyone, welcome to the NBA Breakdown on Friday, March 6th. I'm your host, Cale Hammond. Got a guest star with me today, Mr. Nate Svensson, a native of Sweden, and also the great city of Provo, Utah. So we're going to have some first-class Jazz insight. How's it going over there, Nate?
It's going great. I'm happy to be here. Excited to talk NBA, especially excited to talk about the Jazz as you
Jazz are looking good as of late, so that's definitely going to be a good segment. Let's just jump right into the games. For our first game, we've got Toronto at Charlotte. This one, the Raptors not playing great basketball. Charlotte playing great defense as of late. I think it's probably a little safer to target the Bobcats in this one. And also, when you're targeting the Bobcats, there's not very many players to look at. You got Mo Williams, I think is a good play. He's getting a little expensive, but he's close to double-double with low 20 points when he gets a full allotment of minutes. Kyle Lowry might be back today. If that's the case, look for Kyle Lowry to slow him down a tad bit. Al Jefferson, always a good play. That's about all That's about all I'm seeing from this game. Nate, what do you think?
I mean, you said it all. Toronto's been borderline unwatchable as of late.
Yeah.
They've lost 6 of 7, and it just hasn't been going well. And so it's tough to really pick anyone from Toronto.
Yep.
DeRozan hasn't been playing well. Lowry's been hurt. You can't really trust their big men to perform on a fantasy level. So
Very true.
I'm staying away from Toronto.
Yep.
And in fact, I'm going to take Charlotte against the spread.
Yeah, absolutely.
In terms of the game.
Yep, absolutely. So let's move on. Chicago versus Indiana. So we got a decent amount of options in this game. Mike Dunleavy played 38 minutes last night, and that is way too many minutes for that old guy to play. Look for CJ Miles at 4,600 to have a solid game and give you the 20 or so fantasy points you need out of that small forward slot. I'm not really into Powell today. David West always plays solid defense. I'm into George Hill. George Hill, you need to get a decent amount of George Hill in your lineups. He's been playing exceptional as of late. He's clearly the target for the Pacers, and I'm not necessarily going to target Chicago coming off that back-to-back against a tough Pacers defense. Anything you're seeing from this one?
Dude, you brought up CJ Miles, man. That guy is such an enigma to me.
Yeah.
I mean, he was drafted by the Jazz, so I've been watching him since he came into the league, and he'll have these games where he just goes off for 35 points and makes himself look like an all-star, and then the next 10 games, he averages 2 points, and goes 1 of 10 every game, and I just can't get But then he has these games where he just will go off. Also, I want to bring up a point about my boy, Thrika Lamiritic, who's been killing it as of late. 26 points, 8 rebounds over the last 3 games. I like him a lot.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's a fantasy play, but,
No, he is. He's definitely in. I think his salary's gone up. It's almost around 6,000. But if he's going to be giving you 20-point, almost 10 rebound games, he's an excellent option also. Let's move on to Sacramento versus Orlando. This game is an absolute circus. There are a ton of players to target from this game. You can look for Orlando's going to have a lot of guys hit value. Sacramento is probably going to win this game. I mean, they're favored in this one by 1, and the over/under is 202, so it's definitely a good game to target. The 3 guys I'm going to give you are Victor Oladipo, Ray McCollum, and DeMarcus Cousins. Victor Oladipo's had a couple great games, and there's no worse defender of the shooting guard than Ben McLemore. So look for Oladipo to have a wonderful game. Now that he's got a point guard in Elfrid Payton the entire game, he can play his true position, which is shooting guard. Ray McCollum, just because this Orlando defense is atrocious, I guarantee you he gets over 15 fantasy points, and he's 3,700, so that's cheap value. And DeMarcus Cousins, I fully expect DeMarcus Cousins going up against Nick Vucevic, who is the worst defender of the center slot in the entire league. I expect DeMarcus Cousins to get around 30 and 25, and that's only a slight exaggeration. 30 and 25 is not out of the question for DeMarcus Cousins tonight if he plays 38 minutes. I'm also going to sprinkle in some Toby just because I feel he's bound to have a good game soon, and he's 6,300 in a weak small forward position. I think I'm going to sprinkle in a little bit. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it. That's just my personal opinion. Anything you're seeing in this one?
This is a game between two teams that really aren't that good.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, I'm still kind of excited to watch it. I love watching DeMarcus play. Vucevic, he's a terrible defender, but he gets it done on the offensive
certainly
side
does.
of the ball.
He certainly does.
It's gonna be fun watching those two guys go at each other.
Yeah, look for them to increase each other's stat lines on the points and rebounds department for sure. There's a chance Vucevic just gets outclassed, but I think he's still going to get 20 and 10 just because that Magic team is atrocious. Utah versus Philly.
Ooh, yeah. Let's go.
So Utah versus Philly. We've got a 7-point favorite for Utah. 182 over under. The over under is not what you want to see from a fantasy perspective. You like to target the 200, 205 games. This one's 182. So take that with a grain of salt. But favors Gobert and Hayward, 3 great candidates. Nate, I'm going to let you talk about these guys.
Well, just from a basketball perspective, the way that these 3 guys have been playing over the past 10 games, particularly since we traded Enes Kanter during the All-Star break, it's been out of this world. Faves has been 20 and 10 pretty much every night. Gordon Hayward is showing that he is, in fact, a max contract player, getting 20 points and 5 boards, 5 assists, and don't even get me started on Rudy Gobert.
Yeah, he could talk forever about that guy.
I love him. I am so happy that we have him on our team, and he's going to get 10 points. He could get 25 rebounds again and block 6 shots.
Philadelphia gives up the most rebounds of any team, and Gobert's been gobbling those boards.
And as a whole, the Jazz defense since the All-Star break, since they traded the sieve that was Enes Kanter, they're giving up 82 points per game since the All-Star break, which is unbelievable.
Which is why the over-under is so low, which is why this is not necessarily the game you want to target from a fantasy perspective.
Don't take anyone on Philly.
Yep.
They're not going to score any points. Maybe Canaan, but nothing.
The cannonball?
Yeah.
No, I'm not going to take any Philadelphia 76ers in this one. So let's go to Miami versus Washington. We have a 4.5-point favorite for Washington, 194 over-under. Once again, not the over-under you want to see, not necessarily the game you want to target from a fantasy perspective. For your sake and mine, I'm going to skip this one. Anytime Paul Pierce has the highest value ratio, according to Basketball Monster, you can go ahead and skip this one with no qualms. Cleveland versus Atlanta. LeBron James, Kyrie in some contest. Look for Cleveland to win this one. I have a feeling that Cleveland's going to roll. The spread is 2 for Cleveland, 203 over under, but I think Cleveland's going to come out and win this one. What do you think about the actual basketball game in this one?
I totally agree with your prediction. I think Cleveland is playing on a different level right now, but either way, I'm super pumped about this game.
Yes.
This is what the NBA is
Finally, the Eastern Conference gives us a dope game to watch.
Right. The Cavs are rolling, and then the Hawks are sitting there with the best record in the East, and they're going to be trying to prove that they deserve to have the mantle of being the best team in the East. And so, just from a fan's perspective, you can't ask for more than this.
No, you cannot. And Kevin Love has finally embraced his third option role. And it's true. I mean, I've said it for a while. I was honestly never much of a believer in Kevin Love, just because that freaking Minnesota team, I don't even know if they ever had a winning record.
He's the second best player on a team that happened to be in a terrible situation, so his stats were inflated.
Of course.
And obviously he's a great player, but he's not going to be he's not a type of player that's going to lead your team to any sort of success.
Right. But in a third option role, Kevin Love is an elite power forward in the third option role. I mean, and finally he's embraced it, and that's exactly what the Cavs need, along with Timofey Mozgov's gigantic body, just protecting the paint.
He's been playing out of his mind.
Exactly.
Low-key, incredible pickup.
Yeah, no, it was. He's a gigantic human being. Anytime you got LeBron James, Kyrie Irving, Kevin Love, just get a guy who's over 7 feet with some basketball savvy like Timofey Mozgov, get some toughness in that lineup. It's a great addition. Not going to target any Hawks. It's tough to predict them, and I think this Cleveland team's gonna win outright. That's just my opinion. I'm not going to target any Hawks.
It's a system there.
Exactly. Let's move to Phoenix and Brooklyn. We've got a 2.5 favorite for Brooklyn, 208 over under, which is quite nice, Brandon Knight, tremendous value at his price tag right now. Eric Bledsoe, always a candidate to have a minor eruption. Alex Len in a good spot against Brooklyn. They're not looking too fantastic at that center slot. I don't honestly know much about Brooklyn right now, so I'm not going to pick them. And I've been doing just fine for myself, not picking any Brooklyn Nets. So since it's not broken, I'm not going to fix it. Allen Anderson for 3K, certainly a great candidate to have a 20-point fantasy game. He's not a bad option if you need a cheap guy. I think I'm going to have him in my lineup tonight, honestly, and he's a lock for about 15, which is what you want. Anything you're seeing from this game?
Well, I do want to make the comment that I think Brooklyn is the color beige of the NBA. It's the most boring team in the league. Like, they're not good. They're not bad. Like, they don't have any great players, but they don't have any really terrible players. And they're
also inconsistent, which makes them boring to watch because it's just, come on.
And so, you know what, I say screw the Brooklyn Nets.
Yep, I couldn't agree more, which is why Allen Anderson's the only guy. Also, I'm sorry, Darren Williams has been playing the bulk of the minutes at point guard, and he's still not priced up to where he's usually priced. He's not the player he used to be.
It's sad.
It is sad. He's not the player he used to be. And also, I don't think he aged poorly. I think we just saw an influx of some of the best athletes at the point guard position ever in the history of the NBA. We have Eric Bledsoe, unbelievable. Chris Paul, Kyrie Irving, one of the smoothest scorers you've ever seen. Damian Lillard, Steph Curry. Like, these guys are just too good. Even at Darren Williams' prime, these guys are much, much better than he was.
Exactly.
So that's my thoughts on him. Let's move on to Detroit versus Houston. Looks like T. Jones is questionable. Banging against those big guys from Memphis will certainly give you a sore lower back, which is why he might not play tonight. If he sits out, plug in Josh Smith, plug in Demo. Also get Andre Drummond and Greg Monroe exposure since Houston's definitely going to be undersized. Continue to target James Harden as you should, which is all the time. Anything else you're seeing from a fantasy perspective in that one?
I mean, I'm excited for the Josh Smith revenge.
Yes, absolutely.
He got just blamed for everything that happened in Detroit, and I think he's going to take it personally. I don't know if you saw the game where the Rockets played the Hawks the other night, but Josh Smith was getting booed by the fans, and it kind of fueled him. He played a great game, hit some threes, was getting into it with the crowd, and I think you could see something similar like that. If
there's ever a player to have a revenge game, it is a Josh Smith. The way he just ups his intensity level by thousands of degrees sometimes, and then drops it right back down to about 0 the rest of the season.
Anyway, this could be a turn to 1,000.
Indeed, it could. All right, so let's move on. We've got Lakers versus the Grizz. The Grizzlies should be favored by a lot. They're favored by 12, so you worry about a blowout here. 193 over-under. But I'm going to be honest with you guys. I figured that's the best way to connect with my listeners, is to be honest. The first guy I put into my lineup was Mike Conley. Anytime Conley is the number one option for your lineup, it's a great day. I'm excited about my lineup tonight. Gasol, Zebo, Lakers are just awful, awful defensively. Mike Conley is priced at $5,900 tonight. And you guys know what the Lakers do to the point guard position. They can't even come close to defending anyone. It does not matter the talent level of the player. So that being said, you get a guy who's as talented as Mike Conley at $5,900. That guy's going to be in my lineup every time. I can't talk myself out of it. I mean, if he's matched up against Jeremy Lin, I think he could literally have 5 steals tonight. So anything you're seeing from that one?
I mean, I think this game's going to be an absolute bloodbath.
Yep.
I mean, it's the second best team in the Western Conference going against the Lakers.
Yeah.
And, I think the 11.5 point spread may be a little too small, to be honest with you. I think this is going to be an ugly, ugly game with Memphis obviously dominating.
Yep, absolutely. Let's move on to Boston versus New Orleans. We have a 197.5 over-under. New Orleans, a 7-point favorite. Anthony Davis, what a god. Put him in your lineups.
One true god.
Indeed. Anthony Davis, what this guy is going to turn into, what he's evolving into, what we're going to see in a couple of years. We're not going to, I don't think we're ready for it. We've never seen anything like what this guy's going to turn into in a couple of years. He's truly going to be one of the greatest of all time, and I think it's safe to say that already, honestly. Barring a horrific injury, fingers crossed, knock on wood, praise God that nothing happens to Anthony Davis, we're going to see a living legend for quite some time.
The level of basketball skill in a body like that with his athleticism we've never seen anything like it. It's exciting. It's exciting.
It's almost Durant-like, but with broader shoulders and Dwight Howard shoulders and freaking. Oh, it's just exciting stuff. So target Anthony Davis. Tyreke Evans, not a bad option. Marcus Smart for Boston, your number one value play of the day, according to the Monster. So put some Marcus Smart in your lineups. He's only 4K, and for what he's going to be giving you, he's going to be playing the bulk of the game. It's easy to get value when you're playing as many minutes as I think Marcus Smart is going to play tonight. Isaiah Thomas, 6K. Plug him into your lineups as well.
Dude, Isaiah Thomas has been playing incredibly since he got traded. In the 7 games that he's been there, he's averaging 20 points, 5 assists, and 3 rebounds. And he's shooting the ball well, too. He's torching teams off the bench with that second unit.
Yep.
Because they don't have anyone else, he can do whatever he wants on offense. And, I absolutely agree. Whatever the price, not whatever the price, actually, but
6K. It's 6K. You got to plug Isaiah Thomas into your lineups. He makes an exceptional cash game play tonight.
Absolutely.
Exceptional cash game play. All right, Denver versus San Antonio. This game, from a fantasy perspective, is scary for a lot of reasons. It is very, very scary. We've got the Spurs. Some people that I know, including the co-host of this podcast, Reader Hunt, they have a strict no Spurs policy. I mean, they feel that the risk is not worth the reward with the San Antonio Spurs. It's just tough to predict. They're an old team. They're inconsistent this year. And so, that being said, I will recommend playing Kawhi Leonard. And that's honestly all I can say from the Spurs side of the ball. That's all I'm going to recommend. That's all I feel safe giving you guys to play for the Spurs. Reader has his no Spurs policy. I love Kawhi Leonard. I'm going to play Kawhi Leonard. For as far as the Denver Nuggets go, I'm going to play Kenneth Faried just because I feel like the coaching situation in Denver was so bad that a guy with Kenneth Faried's talent and athleticism, a guy like Kenneth Faried who's so raw, we haven't seen him develop the way he's needed to develop as a basketball player, but his raw athleticism and energy, when you get some motivation and some confidence behind that.
You saw it in the World Cup this summer.
Exactly.
He did an amazing job.
Exactly. Kenneth Faried is a guy who just needs constant feedback, constant development, constant encouragement. And I think the situation with Brian Shaw, I just don't think Kenneth Faried played with any confidence whatsoever. And he was going in playing 30 minutes a game, getting you less than 10 fantasy points, which is just absurd. So I feel safer playing Kenneth Faried now that he's in a much, much better situation without Brian Shaw at that head coaching slot.
I just want to say that if I was a Denver fan, I would be absolutely furious to see that this is a team that has talent, that could win games, but they were so immature that they gave up on their coach. You heard KG talk about it in the media.
Kevin Garnett
gave up, and if I was a season ticket holder for the Denver Nuggets, that would really rub me the wrong way, to be honest with you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and if you see Ty Lawson this year, Ty Lawson's having a poor season. If you see Ty Lawson get 9 points and 4 assists in 30 minutes of basketball, he's tanking and his teammates are tanking because Ty Lawson is too remarkable and ridiculous of a basketball player to have that poor of a stat line playing that kind of minutes.
There's some rumors that George Karl, now in Sacramento, wants to reacquire Ty Lawson from Denver. And that would be incredible because Ty Lawson in George Karl's system is one of the top 5 to 7
I mean, his price is always around $9,000 when he's point guard under George Karl. So that's sorry for talking about the game with fewer fantasy options for so long. Let's move on to Dallas versus Golden State. Dallas is a team you should avoid. You should avoid right now. You should not play very many Mavericks in your lineups. I last night, if you listened to the breakdown, I said Monte was in a good spot. And although he only finished with 25 fantasy points at 6,800, he attempted 20 shots. So thank goodness he was able to salvage his game just by sheer inefficiency. I mean, the headline on ESPN was Rajon Rondo is not as good as you think. And I was like, wow, you know what? I mean, ESPN, they're usually slow for the breaking developments as far as news goes, but they're right. They are correct. That's an accurate headline. Look, Rajon Rondo, he's not as good as you think. Mavs are a system team, and that system is based on people being able to score from anywhere on the court. And with Big McChicken anchoring the paint, Big McChicken is Tyson Chandler. Dirk can hit from anywhere. Parsons, guy from Houston who knows the drill, only shoot 3 points, great 3-point shooter, drives to the lane for layups. Monte Ellis, versatile scorer, offensive weapon. And then they had a guy in Devin Harris and J.J. Barea who just sorely cannot defend the point guard slot, but they can score, and that's why you saw the Dallas Mavericks have the best, most efficient offense in the entire league the whole season until they acquire Rajon Rondo.
Exactly.
And I don't know if you noticed, Rajon Rondo can't score at all, let alone from anywhere. And it's tough when you have a system that's based on spreading the offense like the Atlanta Hawks who can score from anywhere. That's the new drill for the analytics teams in the NBA.
I mean, I think he's absolutely killing the team. I mean, you touched on it. Rick Carlisle is an amazing coach, and the fact that this one piece could be that detrimental to his system, which has proved in the past that it's going to work in the NBA, is it's kind of disappointing.
Yeah, exactly.
Because when that trade was made, I think there was a lot of optimism about how he would be able to help the team, and it's sad that this happened.
And there's absolutely no arguing that Rick Carlisle is one of the premier coaches in the league.
Absolutely, you hear any other NBA coach talk about him, they have nothing. But
Rick Carlisle knows the drill. This is not Rick Carlisle's first rodeo.
Right.
It is not his first rodeo, and Rajon Rondo's still a good point guard statistically when he can just sort of have free reign and do weird things and get people like Brandon Bass like 14-foot jumpers with deep knee bends. But yeah, I mean he's just clearly not a part of this system. And that's unfortunate move for the Dallas Mavericks. I don't think it's going to pan out very well for them.
Yep.
So let's get to the recommended lineup for today. This lineup is sort of at a potential for blowout risk, but also I think it has the potential to score a lot of fantasy points if these games aren't absolute atrocity blowouts. Got Mike Conley at the point guard slot. He's point guard against the Lakers. Don't need to say anything else. Victor Oladipo for $7K. I am worried I'm paying a little too much for him, but Sacramento is the worst defender of the point guard position. I've said it so many times. Josh Smith, revenge game, 6,300. Might not have Terrence Jones. Look for him to get 40 fantasy points tonight. Anthony Davis against this Boston front court. I don't think there's anything Brad Stevens is going to be able to do to slow this guy down. Anything?
I don't think there's anything, the Lord above us could do to slow this guy down at this point.
I completely agree. DeMarcus Cousins, said it earlier, slight exaggeration, but DeMarcus Cousins could get 30 and 25 against Nick Vooch tonight. So look for DeMarcus Cousins' name to pop up at least 20 times in the first quarter in some way, shape, or form, whether it's misses jumper, gets rebound, steal. I mean, this is just going to be, he's going to have a field day. It's going to be an absolute field day for DeMarcus Cousins. Allen Anderson, 3K at the point guard slot. This is a high over-under. Brooklyn's favored. He's going to play 30 minutes. By those, I don't know what you call them, constraints, thought processes, Allen Anderson's a good option for 3K minimum salary. Tony Allen, 3,700. Another guy, cheap as can be, playing against the poor Los Angeles Lakers. I think Tony Allen is going to steal some basketballs in this one if he brings that intensity. He's a very intense guy. He had a great game last outing. Ray McCollum, 3,800. We're sort of ending with the cheap guys. I should rearrange this lineup to give you the cheap guys first and then finish it with DeMarcus Cousins and Anthony Davis. But Ray McCollum's gonna finish this lineup going up against Orlando. I've been doing pretty well for myself the last couple of months, and I've been doing that by targeting point guards against Orlando. So Ray McCollum, cheap option. Look for him to exceed his value threshold. Sorry for keeping you so long. That's all I've got for you today. I hope you have an exceptional lineup. Sorry we're coming a little bit late, but if you're still listening and it's before 7 p.m. Eastern Time, you could still make a tremendous lineup. That's about it. Have a wonderful day.